الذي نعتمده ونعتمد عليه لزيادة الطاقة التصديرية في العراق. لا يخفى عليكم أن المنفذ الرئيسي لتصدير النفط العراقي حاليا هو منفذ ميناء البصرة النفطي. ميناء العمية أيضا موجود، ولكنه في مناطق الآن تعتبر شلو ووتر، وهو موجود وتشغيله يكاد يكون محدود جدا. فإذا الاعتماد الرئيسي للاقتصاد العراقي حاليا على منفذ واحد هو ميناء البصرة النفطي. ميناء البصرة النفطي هو الآن يتكون من شقين: الشق القديم الأرصفة الأربعة التي أصبحت خارج حدود العمر التصميمي أصلا، وأجريت عليه أعمال صيانة متعددة، أعمال أبجريدنج، استبدال لبعض أذرع التحميل، ولكن لا زال هناك مشكلة رئيسية هي الأنابيب البحرية التي نفذت من عام 1975، وهي تماما خارج العمر التشغيلي فضلا عن التصميمي، ولكن مضطرين لاستخدامها. لكي تشغل بشكل صحيح فاضطرينا أنه نخفض الضغط التشغيلي. تخفيض الضغط التشغيلي لهذه الأنابيب لا يخفى على المختصين معناه تقليل كميات المصدرة بنفس المعدات. الوضع الآن نحن في صدد إنشاء أنبوبين بحريين جديدين للتعويض عن هذه الأنابيب البحرية، لأن أي عملية قشط سواء قشط عادي أو قشط ذكي تعرض المنظومة إلى خطر كبير، وتعرض البيئة البحرية إلى خطر كبير، لأن أي مشكلة تحدث في الأنبوب معناه تلوث كبير جدا قد يؤثر على دول الجوار فضلا عن تأثيره على العملية التصديرية للنفط. الشق الثاني لميناء البصرة هو ما سمي بزيادة الطاقة التصديرية، وهو مشروع نفذته شركة نفط الجنوب مباشرة، واعتمدت على كبريات الشركات العالمية، واعتمدت شركة فوستر ويلر كشركة بروجكت مانجمنت تشارك مع نفط الجنوب في هذا التنفيذ. اليوم هناك 4 عوامات أحادية تساهم في التصدير، 3 منها شغالة والرابعة تحت الصيانة الدورية اليومية بعد كل عملية تصدير. وأيضا نحن نسعى مع الجانب الياباني من خلال القرض الياباني الميسر لإضافة عوامة أحادية خامسة. هذه البنية التحتية المتوافرة في الجنوب تصل قابليتها القابلية وليس التصدير اليومي 5 ملايين برميل يوميا. كنا، وكثير من الأخوة الحاضرين يعلمون، كان لنا أكثر من منفذ تصديري. كنا نصدر من البصرة إلى جيهان، وكنا نصدر من البصرة إلى ينبع. الظروف السياسية التي مرت بالبلد أدت إلى أن يكون المنفذ الحالي هو منفذ ميناء البصرة النفطي فقط. من هنا جاءت فكرة هذا المشروع. المشروع عبارة عن بناء خط أنبوب من البصرة مرورا بالنجف صعودا إلى الحدود العراقية الأردنية ثم إلى العقبة، وبناء أرصفة تحميل في العقبة. هذا المشروع ليس ذا هدف اقتصادي فقط وهدف اطمئنان على عملية التصدير، ولكنه يشمل أهداف سياسية وأمنية للاقتصاد العراقي الداخلي، لأن أي عملية اضطراب سياسي أو عسكري في الخليج العربي، أو كما مرت قبل فترة 2 أعمال القرصنة التي حدثت في الصومال، معنى ذلك بأن العراق يختنق تماما. فاليوم العراق شبه معتمد على النفط كمصدر وحيد للدخل. من هنا جاءت سياسة وزارة النفط بالمراحل المتعاقبة. هذا المشروع بدأ في فترة السيد وزير النفط الأسبق الأستاذ كريم العيبي، وبدأت التحضيرات له، وكانت هناك اتفاقات على أعلى المستويات بين الحكومة العراقية والحكومة الأردنية. المشروع في الفترة الأخيرة وتحت قيادة السيد الوزير الحالي الأستاذ جبار العيبي شهد اهتماما متزايدا سواء من دولة رئيس الوزراء أو من السيد وزير النفط وفريق العمل الذي تولى ذلك، ووصلنا إلى المراحل النهائية، ويعني أصبحنا في وضع شبه إحالة. المشروع ينقسم إلى قسمين رئيسيين. القسم الأول من النجف إلى العقبة، وهو قد أحيل إحالة أولية، والشركة المرشحة هي شركة ماسي جلوبال للمستثمر العراقي أحمد إسماعيل. الجزء الثاني هناك شبه إحالة أولية ولكنها لا زالت غير مصادق عليها من مجلس الوزراء، وفيها عدة احتمالات وعدة سيناريوهات. كنا بالأمس القريب، بالضبط أمس، كنا في اجتماع برئاسة السيد وزير النفط والأخوة المستشاري السيد رئيس الوزراء وبعض المؤسسات المالية العالمية لمناقشة 3 احتمالات واختيار أحد هذه الاحتمالات. والشركة مرة أخرى، الشركات المرشحة هي مجموعة من الشركات العراقية والمؤتلفة مع شركات عالمية. في وزارة النفط نحن نسعى بجدية لإدخال الشركات العراقية مع المستثمر الأجنبي. نحن لا نريد أن نجازف بأن نعتمد الشركات العراقية فقط، لأن في ذلك خطوة قد تكون يعوزها شيء من التحفظ، ولكن بكل تأكيد سياسة وزارة النفط الحالية في مشاريعها الكبيرة أن تطلب من المستثمر ضرورة مشاركة شريك عراقي بالتمويل أو بالتنفيذ. والشريك العراقي لا تختاره وزارة النفط ولا تفرضه وزارة النفط، وإنما تفسح المجال للشركة العالمية المتقدمة لاختيار أحد الشركات العراقية ذات الاعتمادية والمشاريع المماثلة. ولاحقا يجب أن يعرض هذا الشريك الذي اختارته المستثمر العالمي لوزارة النفط العراقية لكي توافق عليه. هذه معلومات عن الأنبوب. الأنبوب هو بقطر 56 إنج من الرميلة إلى النجف، وبطاقة أكثر من 2,000,000 برميل، لأنه داخل العراق الأنبوب الناقل الاستراتيجي الناقل للنفط، سواء الاستراتيجي الأول أو الاستراتيجي الثاني، أصبح متقادم، وهذا الأنبوب يكون بديلا عن ذلك. الأنبوب، مقطع الأنبوب من النجف إلى العقبة الحقيقة يكون بقطر أقل 42 إنج، وبالحقيقة تكون طاقة هذا الأنبوب 1,000,000 برميل. الواقع المستهدف ليس التصدير من خلال الأردن فقط، وإنما إن شاء الله في حالة استقرار الوضع في سوريا ممكن أن ننشئ برانش من هذا، تفرع من هذا الأنبوب يذهب إلى سوريا. وحاليا هناك مباحثات وإن كانت في بداياتها بين وزارة النفط العراقية وبين وزارة الطاقة المصرية لتمديد فرع من الأنبوب إلى مصر، لكي يكون تجهيز مصر بالنفط الخام العراقي من خلال هذا الأنبوب بدلا من الناقلات. هناك بعض المعلومات المعروضة أنه هذا الأنبوب يشمل 9 محطات ضغط، بعضها في العراق والبعض الآخر في هناك أيضا أنبوب آخر. هذه اضطرنا إلى المصافي. على كل حال هناك أنبوب آخر حاليا في مرحلة استلام العروض، أو مو في مرحلة استلام العروض وإنما في مرحلة تأهيل الشركات. هذا الأنبوب يمتد من كركوك إلى فيش خابور بطول حوالي 350 كيلومتر، وهذا الأنبوب يكفي لتصدير بطاقة 1,000,000 برميل، وهو معلن. وتقدمت عدد كبير من الشركات. أنجزت شركة المشاريع النفطية إعداد قائمة مختصرة شورت ليست ب17 شركة من مختلف الجنسيات، والآن نحن في مرحلة تزويد هذه الشركات بالتأهيل النهائي لكي نختار من هذه الشركات المؤهلة للمشاركة الفعلية. ما بعدها سوف يتم طلب العرض الفني، وحينما نعتمد شركتين أو 3 أو 4 حينما ينجح عرضها الفني سنتحول إلى مرحلة العرض التجاري. هذين أهم مشروعين استثماريين في ميدان الأنابيب. إذا تحولنا إلى قطاع التصفية، فهناك عدة مصافي. لا يخفى عليكم أن قطاع التصفية في العراق تعرض إلى ضربة كبيرة جدا بخروج مصفى بيجي، وهو أكبر مصفى في العراق عن الخدمة. والآن تقوم وزارة النفط بأعمال كبيرة، سواء من خلال شركة مصافي الشمال أو من خلال شركة المعدات الهندسية وشركة خطوط الأنابيب وشركة المشاريع النفطية وبعض شركات وزارة الصناعة في أعمال تأهيل الأولي لهذا المصفى الكبير. لذلك نحن لا نتوقع عودة هذا المصفى بطاقته السابقة، التي كانت بحدود 300,000 برميل. نتوقع أنه في بداية 2019 سنتمكن من تشغيل الخط الأول صلاح الدين 1 أو صلاح الدين 2 حسب نسبة الأضرار بطاقة 70,000 برميل. لذلك فكرت وزارة النفط وضمن التوجه الحكومي لتخفيف سيطرة الدولة على كل الإمكانيات الصناعية وفتح المجال للقطاع الخاص ولاقتصاديات السوق. لذلك وجهنا الدعوة للمستثمرين المحليين والعالميين لإنشاء مصافي حديثة بمنتجات مطابقة لمواصفات يورو 5 على نظام الBOT وبفترة زمنية جيدة جدا، ووفقا لقانون الاستثمار رقم 64 وتعديلاته التي أقرها البرلمان العراقي. هناك عدة مصافي الآن قيد الإعلان. مصفى حديثة 70,000 برميل الطاقة، وهو الموقع ماله في محافظة الأنبار، والآن حقيبة المعلومات جاهزة وقيد البيع. وآخر معلومات لدي أنه أول أمس بدأت الشركات في شراء هذه الحقيبة، والتاريخ تقديم العروض هو يوم 15/5. مسبقا لكي يكون هناك شفافية في التنافس وكي تكون هناك موضوعية في التقييم، أعددنا جدول مفاضلة بالدرجات يعتمد 3 مقاطع رئيسية: تقييم للمطور، وتقييم للشركات المنفذة، وتقييم للوضع المالي والشركات أو البنوك التي سوف تمول هذا المشروع. فكما تعلمون أن مشروع مصفى متكامل بطاقة 70,000 برميل وبتكنولوجيا متقدمة يورو 5، معنى ذلك نحن نتكلم عن around 4 بليون. فلذلك نحتاج أن يكون هناك مصداقية في هذا. أعددنا هذه ورقة التقييم هذه وموجودة، ويستطيع أن يحتكم إليها المتنافسون عند الإحالة، كما حدث في أحد المصافي التي أحلناها في كركوك. اعترض المتنافسون فقلنا هذه الدرجات، وكل واحد يستطيع أن يحسب الدرجات المبنية على أسس واضحة وصريحة. المصفى الثاني قيد الإعلان 100,000 برميل في منطقة القيارة، ومرة أخرى نفس التوقيتات. ومصفى الديوانية، وهذا الإعلان الثاني لمصفى الديوانية لأنه لم يسبق أن تقدم أحد لمصفى الديوانية. مصفى واسط هو أيضا إعادة الإعلان، تقدمت على مصفى واسط مجموعة من الشركات، وكان أحسن عرض فني هو لشركة صينية، وكنا على أبواب الإحالة لهم، ولكن كانت هناك بعض الملاحظات على الملاءة المالية وعلى أسلوب التمويل. وعند التدقيق التفصيلي وجدنا أن هذه المعلومات ليست صحيحة، وللأسف أنه شركة عالمية وتعمل في خارج بلادها أن تعطي معلومات غير دقيقة، ونحن في صدد مقاضاة هذه الشركة لعدم مصداقيتها أولا، ولأنها أضاعت وقت شركات مصافي الوسط. المصفى الثاني هو الناصرية ريفاينري. هذا المصفى يعتبر ثاني حجم من المصافي المعلنة للاستثمار بطاقة 150,000 برميل يومي في حقل ذي قار. وسابقا كان هذا المصفى معروضا كجزء متكامل من تطوير حقل الناصرية. كان المشروع يشمل تطوير الحقل وبناء منشآت الإنتاج وبناء المصفى. الحقيقة كانت هناك صعوبات، كون أن الشركات المتخصصة في ميدان الاستكشاف والتطوير ليست ذات خبرة في موضوع الداون ستريم، وشركات المصافي ليست ذات خبرة في موضوع الأب ستريم، فكان هناك تشكيل، لابد من تشكيل كونسورتيوم لإدارة هذا الملف. تأخر المشروع كثيرا، والقرار النهائي للوزارة بأن يفصل، والآن المشروع هو في المراحل الأخيرة. يوم 1/4 راح يكون الكلوزنج ديت، وهناك 3 إلى 4 شركات اشترت حقيبة المعلومات وسوف تباشر في تقديم عروضها الفنية لاحقا. الآن هذه القائمة الثانية عندنا كركوك ريفاينري، أحيل إلى شركة عراقية هي شركة رانيا، مؤتلفة مع مجموعة شركات صينية وتشيكية، والتمويل من بنوك صينية، ووقع العقد معهم. بالمناسبة العقد تعلمون أنتم في موضوع مصفاة ميسان وشركة مصفاة ميسان الدولية، وكثير من اللغط حدث في ذلك. لتجنب ذلك وباعتباري مكلف من معالي الوزير بإدارة هذا الملف، فعقدنا سلسلة من الاجتماعات مع كل دوائر الوزارة المعنية، الفنية والرقابية والمالية ومكتب المفتش العام والقانونية، وأخذنا ملاحظات كل الشركات، وكلفت الدائرة القانونية لإعداد صيغة عقد نموذجي يمكن أن يستخدم ويطبق على كل التعاقدات الجديدة. أنجزت الدائرة القانونية ذلك، وبالتالي عرضت على مؤسسة قانونية دولية لمراجعتها لكي يكون متوافقا مع القانون الدولي، لأن بالتأكيد هكذا استثمارات وهكذا مشاريع تدخل فيها شركات صينية وكورية وغربية، حينما وهكذا فترة زمنية طويلة متوقع أن تنشأ خلافات. حل هذه الخلافات لا يمكن أن يكون بالسياق المحلي، وإنما بالتأكيد هذه الشركات ستطلب الاحتكام إلى المؤسسات الدولية المعنية في هذا الموضوع. من هنا ارتأينا أن العقد لا يكون عقدا محليا بخبرات وزارة النفط فقط، وإنما لجأنا إلى شركة قانونية دولية لمراجعة العقد. العقد الأول الذي وقع العقد الثاني الذي وقع هو عقد مصفى لم يوقع الحقيقة على وشك المرشحة للإحالة هي شركة باور تشاينا ونورينجو في منطقة الفاو، وهو أكبر مصفى حديث يؤسس في العراق بطاقة 300 ألف برميل باليوم. المصفى الثاني هو مصفى بطاقة 150 ألف برميل، وعلى وشك التوقيع مع شركة إنجليزية اسمها آيلاند إنجينيرينج. ومصفى ميسان تحدثت لكم، وهو يفترض الآن بدأت الخطوات الأولى للتنفيذ. متابعتنا للمشروع أشرت بداية التنفيذ وقيامهم بأعمال المساحة، ولكن بصراحة نحن غير راضين عن تقدم العمل الذي حدث في المشروع. شكرا لكم. هناك معلومات كثيرة ولكن الوقت ضيق. أشكركم شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you very much. It would be great to hear more, but we have some time constraints and want to leave time for to hear from other speakers as well. I'll ask all of you if you can keep your remarks to somewhere around 5 to 7 minutes, and hopefully we'll then have time for some Q&A as well. So our next speaker is Abdul Karim Abdul Wahab. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your coming. Thank you, Lloyd, for this opportunity to let us all meet. I would like to transfer the regards of His Excellency, the Minister of Industry, to your councils. Today we are talking about the future expansions for petrochemicals and fertilizers industries in Iraq. And gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, you have here all today the vision of the government of Iraq, how to maximize the added value or to have another resources to the local income to the country, not depending on the exports of the crude oil just. And as long as you know, all gentlemen, Iraq is a very rich country in hydrocarbons, crude oil and associated gas and dome gas, and all these resources are useful to convert into petrochemicals. So finding extra income to the country by converting petrochemicals, hydrocarbons into petrochemicals and fertilizers is the responsibility of the Ministry of Industry and Minerals. So we did the plans how to develop those type of industries. And I'm sure maybe Mr. Samuel Qabwan, he's already sitting here, he was responsible for the strategy of power in Iraq. And I believe a contract was signed between His Excellency and the Booz and Co company. And this study was, kept the roadmap on the power sector on the power sector of Iraq. One of the most important sectors is the developing of petrochemicals and fertilizers. And then it shows that Iraq should approach a petrochemical products of about 15.6 million tons as a final products by the year of 2035, and about 6 million tons of fertilizers, nitrogenic fertilizers, I mean urea and ammonia, by the same year. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Iraq is a virgin country of petrochemicals. Do you know that? Do you believe 40 million citizens living in this country and we have no petrochemical industries? Could you imagine how much volume of final products required for the local demand? For that reason, we built our plans for several petrochemical complexes and several ammonia urea plants. This is the second one planned because the first one I will come later due to secrecy agreement signed between the government of Iraq and our partner. I will come later to the first one. This is the second one. We call it the Monster Complex. And this complex is supposed to be located in Al-Faw Peninsula at Basra region, south of Iraq, or Babylon region, mid of Iraq. Why or Babylon? Because there is already existing a site of 2 by 6 kilometers well developed and suitable to keep this complex in this area. This is one. The owners of this project is subject to investors, so it means it's open to any investor who would like to invest on that. This complex will consist of 2 phases. Phase 1 will depend on liquid hydrocarbons derivatives. As Mr. Diya said, the Ministry of Oil are planning to put a heavy refinery in Al-Faw Peninsula of 300,000 barrels a day. So this will suit this complex. And the second phase will be based on ethane and liquid hydrocarbons derivatives. By the way, Iraq is the only country in the Middle East who has a very rich components of useful materials to petrochemicals and associated gas. Do you know ethane content in associated Iraqi gas is 16%? So this is very useful. And also propane and butane and C5+. So all these are useful for petrochemicals. The design capacity of this project will be 1.4 million ton ethylene base, and these are the downstream process units, which polyethylene, black compounding, polypropylene, hexene 1, ethyl benzene, styrene, polystyrene, and utilities. Phase 2, methyl tertiary butyl ether, polybutadiene rubber, styrene butadiene rubber, terephthalic acid. I don't want to go, so you can see. Our target for this project is 15% for the IRR. Somebody will ask, how can you approach this 15%? We have the tools of play. We can play with the capex, we can play with the feedstock price. Our aim, our target is to approach this 15%, which is acceptable to the government of Iraq. I believe also it will be acceptable to the investor. The second complex also will be placed in Al-Faw Peninsula, south of Iraq. Why Al-Faw Peninsula? Because it's near, direct on the face of the Arabic Gulf, and it's such big projects and big complexes. It needs some port to export the products. So this one will be based on propane as a feedstock, and it will produce 650,000 tons of propylene-based polypropylene. We expect the capex of this project 1.9 billion, and the target of this one is 17% IRR. We have some negotiations with the CBI and Loomis. It's an American company, plays in Houston, and is very, very big company in this field. And this is the last one, which we are planning. Is this complex based on methane as a feedstock, and the core unit is methanol, which will be of 1.7 million ton of methanol. Also, the methanol will be utilized on all these kind of products. Our target is 15% as an IRR. This is methanol plant. Methanol plant will be also planned to be kept in Beiji, Salahuddin region. And the target of this plant is 1 million ton a year. The capex of this 1.75 billion USD, and also our target is 17% IRR. These were the petrochemical complexes we are planning to accept. The first one, which will coming later. Ammonia urea plants. We are planning in Abu Qasib. Abu Qasib. Maybe you can see the site on the map. This is the site of Abu Qasib, which is located also in Basra Governorate. And this plant will be built based on one phase. The capacity of this one is 1,000,028 ton a year of urea pellets. The capex of this one is 1.1 billion, and the target is 15% IRR. The second one also will be kept in Khor Zubair, also in Basra region. And this one, similar to the first one, also of a capacity 1.28. By the way, as per the records coming from the Ministry of Agriculture, today demand of the urea fertilizer is almost 2.2 million. And we expect by the year of 2030, the demand will be 4 to 5 million. While the existing production capacity of urea in Iraq, only 700,000. So you can imagine how much demand is required now or in the future to Iraq. So also this 1.28 and the capex of this one 1.4, the target also 15%. The third ammonia urea plant will be placed in Al-Qaim. Al-Qaim, located in Anbar region, which is west of Iraq, near the border with Syria. And also this one will be built based on one phase. This one will produce 1.28 ton of urea plus 600,000 of ammonia. Ammonia, why? Because we have existing complex, phosphate complex, and this phosphate complex need urea for the compounds of the rest of fertilizers. So we need this 600. This will increase or will make it better for the IR. The last one will be caved in Basra and Salah ad-Din, also in Beiji, because we have now an existing one, and the capacity of the existing one is 500,000. During the design of the existing one, there was a future expansion area kept for future expansion. And now we are planning to utilize this 500,000. That's it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Sana Shamsaldeen.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about the achievements of Ministry of Industry and Mineral in the field of renewable energy. As you know, that renewable energy is a sustainable, non-depleted, and environmentally source of energy. Generally speaking, it is an important option for mitigating climate change. The following are the achievements of our industry in the field of renewable energy. طبعا وزارة الصناعة والمعادن سعت إلى أن تستفاد من مصادر الطاقة المتجددة، لأن مثل ما تعرفون أنه النفط هو ثروة ناضبة وملوثة للبيئة. ركزت وزارة الصناعة والمعادن على مشاريع في مجال الطاقة الشمسية. عندنا هيئة البحث والتطوير التابعة للوزارة قامت بتصميم وتنفيذ منظومة كهروضوئية لبناية مركز الوزارة، وهي أكبر منظومة كهروضوئية مستقلة عن الشبكة الوطنية في العراق، وتعمل على توفير قدرة كهربائية بمقدار 60 كيلو واط. الشيء الثاني أن وزارتنا صممت وصنعت سخانات شمسية منزلية بسعة 160 لتر. بسعة 160 لتر اعتمادا على الإمكانيات المحلية وبالتعاون مع شركتي أور العامة وشركة الفارس العامة. المجال الثالث اللي دخلت به الوزارة أنه استخدمت السخان الشمسي الأنبوبي المفرغ لتجهيز الماء الحار لمراكز هيئة البحث والتطوير. الإنجاز الخامس أنه تصميم وتصنيع منظومات كهروضوئية في مجالات الاتصالات اللاسلكية واللاسلكية والرصد الجوي والرصد الزلزالي المتحركة والثابتة لحساب وزارة النقل والمواصلات الهيئة العامة للأنواع الجوية والرصد الزلزالي. أيضاً الوزارة دخلت في مشروع منظومة تشغيل الحاضنات في غرفة الزرع للأوساط الزراعية لصالح وزارة العلوم والتكنولوجيا. المشروع الآخر هو منظومة الإشارة الضوئية المرورية بقدرة 280 واط وتعمل لمدة 12 ساعة. الإنجاز الآخر هو منظومة بيت الأهوار بقدرة 5900 واط، أجهزة منزل ريفي وتعمل لمدة 24 ساعة. المشروع الآخر هو تصميم وتصنيع سيارة كهربائية شمسية بسرعة 40 كيلومتر بالساعة. الوزارة أيضاً سعت إلى تقليل الحمل على الشبكة الوطنية من خلال تصميمها وتنفيذها لمنظومات الإدارة الشمسية 2000، منظومة للشوارع العامة والحدائق ومدارج المطارات، موزعة لأكثر من 10 مواقع في محافظة بغداد وضواحيها. الإنجاز الآخر هو تصنيع مصاعد للحشرات من الطاقة الشمسية بعدد 35 مصيدة، وتجهيزها إلى وزارة الزراعة الهيئة العامة للبيطرة. المشروع الآخر هو تصميم وتصنيع مجمدات وثلاجات شمسية بعدد 104 لصالح وزارة الزراعة وبقدرة 420 واط وتعمل لمدة 24 ساعة. المشروع الآخر هو تصميم وتصنيع مبردات تبخيرية شمسية وتصميم وتصنيع المقطرات الشمسية. تصميم وتصنيع منظومات ضخ المياه الشمسية بقدرة 15 كيلو واط وبعمق 5 إلى 100 متر وبسعة ضخ 20 إلى 70 متر مكعب. هذا المشروع هو في منطقة أبو غريب والرطبة وسامراء والجزيرة، وبأسلوب الري بالتنقيط. المشروع الثاني هو البايوماس والويند إنرجي، مشاريع الكتلة الحيوية وطاقة الريح. في هذا المجال قامت الوزارة بتصميم وتصنيع منظومة كتلة حيوية لإنتاج الوقود خصوصاً في المناطق الريفية، وتصميم وتصنيع توربينات الرياح لتوليد الطاقة الكهربائية بقدرة نصف كيلووات لصالح وزارة الدفاع. المشروع الآخر هو تصميم وتصنيع طواحين الرياح لضخ المياه للأغراض الزراعية وبكمية 5.5 لتر للشوط الواحد. كما قامت هيئة البحث والتطوير اللي هي إحدى تشكيلات وزارة الصناعة والمعادن بإعداد دراسات جدوى اقتصادية لتهيئة فرص استثمارية أو مشاركة في مشاريع الطاقة، ومن هذه المشاريع هي تدوير ومعالجة النفايات الصلبة بطاقة إنتاجية قدرها 250 ألف طن سنوياً لغرض إنتاج 25 ميجا واط طاقة كهربائية، ومعامل طابوق صديقة للبيئة. نشاطات وزارتنا في مجال الطاقة المتجددة. وزارتنا هي عضو في المجلس المشترك لمتابعة تنفيذ مشروع المبادرة الوطنية لاستثمار الطاقة المتجددة. قامت الوزارة بإنجاز 6 مؤتمرات و14 ندوة علمية ونشر 362 بحث في مجال الطاقة المتجددة والبيئة. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to invite Hussein Chalabi to speak. Thank you.
السلام عليكم. مع الأسف المحاضرة راح تكون بالإنجليزي. طبعا أكو عامل وقت هنا، فمن أشوف الناس نايمين I will stop, otherwise I'll keep going. Okay? So far so good. What I'm going to talk about is something we're not doing yet in Iraq. I want to lay down the reason why I want to mention it and how I think should be tackled if I am decision maker in Iraq. Which way does it go? Okay. I'll be covering a few items. Because of the shortage of time, just skim through it yourself, and we'll move on to the next one. Again, you can read this one. Basically, since 1950s, we've been dreaming about the oil being the catalyst for growth, for improving prosperity, for development of capability, and all the good things that we started doing in the 50s, but somehow they appear to be a mirage, sarab bil-Arabi. And in fact, many regional countries producing oil are using oil for nothing but to eat from what the revenues of the oil is all about. What does that mean? In Law 111, the oil is for every Iraqi, not the present, the future generation as such. So what we're doing really, instead of investing to improve for the future generation, we're actually not doing anything. We're just eating that food and doing nothing. Now, it's very interesting. In 1914, the National Geographic had on page 546, the last bit of the paragraph, a lady and his wife went from America to visit Iraq because they thought it's the Garden of Eden. And what they found when they arrived to Iraq, the beauty of the rivers, Mesopotamia, the people, it's populated with people, the soil is fantastic, so they thought with the current resources, it may really go back to being the Garden of Eden. Guess what? They're also living in a cuckoo land. We're not there yet. So let's see how we can begin to see the situation. We're looking at, first of all, our main revenue today is the oil. So that we need to look at the energy balance, how the oil looks at. I think in this regard, already Mr. Al-Yasiri of BP has reflected the kind of expectation from as time passes. We're looking at the latest BP, which coincides with IEA and the other publications, where we're looking at what we call scenarios by year 2040. Guess what? We are really looking at the various scenarios. One is called evolving transitional, which is if people keep behaving the same way they are, then there is a growth in the energy. This is on the right-hand side is carbon emission, but I want you to focus on the left-hand side because that's basically what we're looking at the oil. If you can see the green in the left-hand side, really, we're not doing very well by 2040. In the meantime, because of the pressure of the shale oil as being the marginal supplier, I don't foresee there is much growth in the price of oil. In other words, we are encountering the following: depletion of each field by roughly 5 to 7% per year, and that is costing much more with time because every project increases in cost as time passes by for many reasons. One of them is really the labor productivity in construction has not improved. So the bottom line, we're not likely to see much additional revenue coming from oil and gas, okay? However, Iraq in particular, somehow people grow very fast. The growth in population, 2.1 million, 2.1% per year, and that is a problem And the reason is, with the revenue being same, the cost of production or keeping the oil production the same, it costs more, and the population is increasing. So we are adding 2.5% more poor people that have to share the cake for a reduced, bigger population, but the cake is slightly smaller. So we need to face that in reality. So we have to encounter what other options do we have. Well, if we do think seriously, we do have many options. One is investment in sustainable projects. Key point, sustainable. It means it has economics that does not burden the government's revenues or budget. In other words, it adds value. It brings more revenue. Now, people ask, what does that mean? Well, as you know, as an investor, you're looking at cost of an asset, and you need to write it off. You have operating cost. And here is where one should think seriously. Same situation appeared in the UK in 1990 or 91, where the North Sea was really closing doors. They were literally going to abandon the North Sea because the cost of capital to keep it going was too high, and people just couldn't implement projects. If you lose the North Sea, you're losing not only production, but losing the capability of people. The worry of the British government was, what do we do with the knowledge? What do we do with keeping that industry at the forefront for the British economy? So they developed what's called the reality. They created an initiative, it's called CRINE, which stands for Cost Reduction Initiative in the New Era. As you know, when you do something, you have an owner, you have a contractor, you have a supplier. Each one, in a way, mistrusts the other. But if you work closely, modify your behavior, etc., and the target was to actually keep the North Sea going with that objective of 30% reduction in capital cost for the same objective, and 50% reduction in the operating cost. And they kept, bouncing ideas, doing things. They achieved it. North Sea stayed and continued to develop till today. And I'm equally exposed to another major company in the Far East that followed similar example in 2014 and achieved very successful results. Why I say that? Because we have been burdened. We always say, why don't investors come here? And the minute they come here, they say the project of a cost of our building a refinery is $8 billion. We don't understand why it's $8 billion, okay? Because they really have not taken initiatives like this. We in Iraq cannot take the initiative on our own. However, as you gather from the politics in the current environment, we are realigning with the regional actors. So it's a golden opportunity, and every one of us, every one of the people in the region, like the Saudi Arabia, even the Emirates, are facing the same situation in a different format, meaning growth in oil production is minor, if not lower. Cost of production, of keeping the oil the same is this, and life is getting more expensive. So it suits them to actually form what Britain did for the North Sea, to actually get to see what the real cost of building in our area. If we manage to scrape 20, 30% from the investment to build a refinery, I bet you there'll be an appetite to get in and actually find investors. So that's step number one. No point in guiding you into saying, let's build, let's do that, even though there is sustainability. Because when we deal with mega projects, there are multitudes of expectations. One, the primary one is economic return for the country, meaning value addition. Second is social well-being. Third is skill development. Third is, sort of creating what we call knowledge base. And that's very important for people like one of our colleagues in the oil industry, Dr. Farouk Al-Qasim. He was sort of mentioning to Lebanon, who are trying to get into the oil business. He said, watch it. The resource curse is going to hit you. Think what you need to keep in mind. Samsung, the material to put an Wi-Fi, to bring the mobile phone is $5. You buy it for $600. The difference is the knowledge they have in that phone. Think of the value of developing our people in parallel with the development of the industrial. And I think I don't want to cover petrochemicals as such. You'll see many slides that cover the value chain, etc. But I'd like to pause for a minute, if you don't mind. Currently, we're short of products, meaning gasoline and distillate. Think of the journey that it takes if we go back. To the supply chain. Oh no, okay, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. Okay, no, let's leave it. In the supply chain, we sell the crude to someone who refines it, and we buy from those people to bring back what we need. In other words, we're paying for transportation. We're paying. He wants to make a profit, that refiner. We buy from him, bring it back to us, and that refiner may not be using Iraqi crude. So we're doing marketing on behalf of some other producer. So by the time you add that circuit to bring back from this way, literally we are wasting about $10 per barrel without knowing it, okay? So there is real value in getting our refineries on schedule. Every day costs us an arm and a leg for the material we import, okay? Now, I think we covered in a rush probably the petrochemical. I have many more slides that elaborates not on building a project called fertilizer, but really the money making is when you integrate projects that cover energy, refining, which is fuel, and petrochemicals. This is where the money is. This is what Germany is. This is what Japan is. They don't isolate projects by themselves. Integration is the name of the game because of the transfer of streams between the two functions and the utility exchange, etc., etc. Okay, so we need to really think seriously. And after all, what are we trying to do here? We're trying to harmonize the development of the country to improve our. So it goes back to the Ministry of Planning. There is no need to overload ourselves with projects without looking at the prosperity of the people, without looking at the other assets of building school, building this kind of thing. Because otherwise, if we focus just on investment, it takes 4 to 5 years to get something mega in the oil and petrochemical. Now that, in the meantime, what do we tell the people? Don't eat till the fertilizer gets sold. You can't do that. You have to really harmonize, as we've seen. I'm very familiar with Malaysia and its development plan, and that's how other people have done it, but I have tremendous familiarity with that. Now, Dr. Karim mentioned about the attractiveness of the rich gas for petrochemicals. It's reflected in this graph. You see the Middle East producers, that because of the gas, it gives them an advantage to people in Europe that produce petrochemical from liquids, which is much more expensive to do. So from that angle, these are the advantages. Okay, now, the interesting thing when you look at any project by the word sustainability, the environment, the dynamics of the market continues to change. whether it's the change of the refining, change of quality of gasoline, change of ratio of gasoline to distillate. All these, we call them pressures to stay ahead of the game. If you don't, in other words, when you build something, you don't just forget it for 20 years and then stare at it. You're out of the business anyway, and therefore you're not really in the game. These are the pressures. Typically, I call it a refinery. I'm a refinery man. So you see the pressures over there to keep it in harmony, being competitive all the time. Otherwise, you lose the meaning, sustainability. Okay? Now, I'm here trying, I thought people from the Investment Council, Dr. Sami Al-Araji will be here to actually gain, hopefully, better appreciation in how you actually identify what I call a business plan or bankable feasibility study. Because I don't think I've seen one in any of the discussions in Iraq. So I prepared myself to actually put a list of things, since, but one can see it in the handouts at your leisure. Okay? So as I mentioned, each project that at least developed by the government has multitudes of things to help the country in its development. However, when it comes to a private investment, the focus is commercial and, of course, environmental protection. Not so much in building universities and things like that. So that's one of the differences why refining, for example, can be attractive and sustainable for private investor versus when it's done by the government with all the expectations of the community that the government looks at. Now, in terms of development of a project, it goes through a plan, conceptual design, and it takes a long time. The more you pay attention to it and harmonize it with the planning of the country, the more attractive it becomes. So we'll skip. Keep in mind, you developed something. You have the money, you have a good contractor, but you have a lousy technology. Okay? It's called the three-legged stool. You're expecting the rewards sitting on the stool, one leg goes or not efficient, brings the other two that were glorious. Of course, we're not talking about blame, because normally the owner, regardless whether he is good or bad, he blames the contractor, rather than look at what he has in his back door. Okay? Now, one thing to remember, if you can do it yourself, do it yourself. It's only you bring people with skill from the outside to help you. If you say, I don't know anything, you give it to the outside, don't tell me why it's too expensive to do. So you need to really build a team, build a skill, maximize your local content, because local content in some of the presentations adds up 30 to 40% than the Gulf if you don't have the local capability. We had many presentations of them. We challenged them, but they seem to be a bit robust. Okay? Now, quite often we sign agreements. Once you sign an agreement, you get what you signed for, not what you deserve. Keep that in mind. So if you haven't really negotiated a good agreement, don't come back tomorrow and cry, why are they sort of overpricing my project? Okay? Very important. And when you negotiate, if you don't have the skill and the eye to eye with the opposite side, don't negotiate. You're a loser to start with. Okay? So these are fundamentals in my experience when it comes to negotiating, whether it's big projects or licensors, which I'm very familiar with. Okay? That's again for you to read in the thing. Now, people expect private sector to come in. Everyone from the outside, he has what's called decision tree. Security and safety of people. If it's likely that he lose one of his staff for one reason or another, he shies away. Number one, it's called yes or no. If there is not secure and there is likelihood safety of employees, he doesn't want to know. Even you bring him beautiful grapes, whatever, no go. High concerns. So here, somehow, we overlook all these decision trees, and we expect people to walk and say, welcome to, come and do things in Iraq. If we clean that list and go through a tick situation, security, safety, employees, good, at least we get concerned with the other things, okay? Now, in concluding remarks, as I presented to you, basically, we need to get these costs of the projects under our control by benefiting from the environment, the countries around us. Hopefully they have, I mean, Saudi has developed extremely well. United Arab Emirates is on its way. We can learn from them, and guess what? They were actually, particularly United Arab Emirates, is actually built by the Iraqi hands. Our Iraqis, I see many of them here, that's who built and developed UAE. There is lots of things to learn from, okay? And these basically cover the things, but I want to remind a couple of things. One is we in Iraq are looking not in barrels of oil production. We're looking for revenue from the oil as a catalyst. And the revenue is nothing more than price and volume. And every one of us, I shouldn't say everyone, but I see distinguished people here like His Excellency Thamer Ghadban. He knows the sensitivity of production versus the price you get in the market. 500,000 barrel per day increment cause a decline roughly 50% in the price. So if you don't double your production, you're a loser if you put 500,000 extra barrels in 1 year, year after year, okay? Keep that in mind. We in Iraq, we don't want just barrels, we want the revenue, okay? With that, should we say we can do things ourselves? Please, don't do what Frank Sinatra said, I do it my way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now Mr. Elijah Angelik.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests. I'm the last speaker, so I'll try to make this quick. May not make 5 minutes, but I'll try to make 10. The topic of my discussion today is developing the Iraqi petrochemical industry, the critical success factors, and I'm not very good at this. What do I press? This one? This one? Do you know which one it is? I think it's this one. Okay. Okay. I think it goes without saying, and I don't think anybody who's been here today would argue with the fact that Iraq has been blessed with plentiful oil and gas reserves. There's no doubt about it. It's recently increased its reserve 153 billion barrels. We heard today from His Excellency Mr. Janabi that could be as high as 300. There's a lot of gas. A lot of the oil fields are located in the south. Iraq is one of the highlights in the Middle East for increasing crude oil production in the near term, midterm. However, Iraq is flaring, depending on who you talk to, 1.2 to 1.6 billion standard cubic feet a day of associated gas at the current production levels, and this will only go up. This will only go up as oil production increases. So the conclusion here is that the potential for economic development of Iraq's hydrocarbon sector is significant. And this is a title I took from a book I read back in the early 90s on a situation in another country, but crisis amid plenty. There is an unfortunate lack of investment in Iraq in the hydrocarbon chain. In addition to flaring the associated gas, Iraq is also using crude oil for power generation and importing natural gas, electricity, and increasing volumes of refinery products. So you can see the red ones are the bad, but you're exporting crude. Iraq is in need of investment in the gas processing, refining, and petrochemicals. Large volumes of gas are currently being flared or wasted. Significant progress, and I think the country should be proud of the progress they've made in crude oil production. By any measure, they've done fantastically well, particularly when you take into consideration some of the geopolitical things that have gone on, i.e. the ISIS war. So though significant progress has been made, has been achieved in crude oil production, development in Iraq's hydrocarbon chain has been stalled, in my opinion, in crude oil, particularly because the development of the midstream gas processing sector has stalled. Focus on the midstream to attract sufficient capital with strategic objective of the development of an integrated master gas system is critical for both petrochemical and refining sectors. And I say that because a master gas system, an integrated master gas system, would provide the feedstock and energy to petrochemicals, and refining is a big energy consumer, and gas is a big source of that energy. Basra Gas Company, formed in 2013, clearly is a step in the right direction, and as the midstream develops outside Basra Gas Company, if it's other joint ventures, or inside Basra Gas Company, however the government choose to direct that activity, integration is essential to advance the master gas system. In other words, I do believe in the strategic direction of the country. However that midstream develops, it should be integrated to maximize the probability of a sustainable and reliable supply of feedstock to the petrochemical industry. And as you can tell on this chart, I have it highlighted here that development of midstream to enable petrochemical development. You get to petrochemicals, the primary industries, ethylene, propylene, benzene. With that comes secondary industry development. Those are the pipe fabricators, waste disposal systems, those things that support the big industries. They tend to be located near the primary industries. And then after that, you move downstream to your secondary products, your consumer products. And the importance of this is that on the left side of this chart, it's capital intensive. You spend a lot of money, a lot of capital, but very few jobs, relatively speaking, are created. You go to the other end of the spectrum, and it's a much lower capital, but you create hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs for every $1 million invested. So if you unlock, you got gas processing, the way I would suggest, you got gas processing, you build that capability. When you get enough ethane contained in the gas, you begin to extract that to support your first petrochemical plant. Then you go to I think it's important to look at integrated complexes with the secondary support industry. And after that, you go down to the derivative specialty industry. And these, I'm not going to read through them all, but these are the types of products that are made. And that's not an exhaustive list. But those are the type of products that can be made by the full development of the hydrocarbon chain in Iraq. And those are the areas where you really do create the job. And some of these areas are very highly technical in nature. So what do you need to do? I said success factors. What do you need to do to, in my view, having been in this industry now for more years than I care to count, Iraq's associated gas is rich in NGLs. You heard that from several speakers before, providing an excellent basis to develop world-class petrochemical sector. Feedstock is a critical concern for investors. However, there are other critical factors to consider for success. I think this is an important point in my 8 or 9 years of traveling to Iraq in an effort to develop the midstream and petrochemical sector. Petrochemical investment differs in several significant ways from oil and or refining sectors, and I want to say primarily oil, and I'll just highlight one of these, is that in the petrochemical industry, it requires upfront capital. In other words, all your capital goes in, and you're not going to build a world-scale ethylene plant under $7 or $8 billion, and depending on the amount of infrastructure you need to add to that, it could be as high as 10, 11, 12 billion. But it all goes in. It takes a period of 5 to 6 years. All your money's in, then you press the button and you hope the plant works. And there are situations around the world when it took them 2 to 3 years to start up. So the financial risk in the petrochemical industry is different from that in the upstream oil industry, where you start investing, you get production, you get some cash returns. And under the right conditions, Iraq's petrochemical sector can take root and grow, providing the country with billions, I believe, in direct foreign investment, diversify the economy away from its reliance on oil. You've heard people talk about that today and in other conferences. It creates high skill level jobs for Iraqi nationals, and it provides a platform for sustained growth and development into the secondary industries. You have to get this one done right in order to go downstream. And it would enable the import displacement and benefit the country's balance of trade. And you shift, as I mentioned earlier, you shift from high capital, low labor to low capital, high labor. So I'm going to quickly go through, in my view, after 30 years of developing and operating these petrochemical plants around the world, I listed 6 key factors, and I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on them, but what I want to point out here is 3 of them are related to feedstock. You need to have enough feedstock to support a world-scale facility, and for purposes of this discussion and for ethylene production, I would call a world-scale facility somewhere greater than 1 million tons, and probably between 1 million tons to 1.5 million tons of ethylene. The investor is going to want to have demonstrated, or have the supplier demonstrate that they can provide a reliable feedstock supply. Online operating factor is critical to the economic performance of these assets, and it needs to be competitively priced feedstock. You've heard it earlier today in different presentations. The investor is going to want a return on their investment for coming and spending the billions it'll take to develop the petrochemical industry. Other parts are facility integration for efficient capital and OpEx, and I think this is becoming a bigger and bigger factor in the industry, both refining and petrochemical. Infrastructure, utility, roads, rails, and ports. You need to have global market access. A single world-scale plant in Iraq, I don't believe there's enough domestic market to take up a month's supply. You're going to have to support the domestic market, and it'll grow over time, and then hopefully you'll get more petrochemical plants as well. And you need business-friendly government framework. I've gone through these. I'm not going to go into that in a lot of detail, but I would suspect most petrochemical companies that come to Iraq, they look for ethane and only ethane, and a reason for that is with ethane, you get primarily ethylene. You don't get a lot of byproducts. As you get into the heavier and heavier feedstocks, you have to manage a lot of byproducts, and your capital costs increase significantly. An ethane propane cracker may cost you 40% more than an ethane cracker, and a naphtha cracker may cost you 60 to 70% more, and you have to dispose of all the other products economically. You got volume, reliability, and term. I've talked about that. Feedstock price. You need to look at the U.S. Gulf Coast, and I have a quote later that'll address this. But you got to look at the 2 lowest cost today. The 2 lowest cost feedstock regions in the world are U.S. Gulf Coast and the Middle East. And in the Middle East, it's primarily Saudi Arabia. The thing I think to the advantage of Iraq is Saudi Arabia is fairly well tapped out on ethane, and they're moving to heavier feedstocks, and they're even talking about, Aramco and SABIC are talking about a crude to petrochemical project, which is a topic for another conference and another day. Cost-efficient access to global markets. I would look at putting a facility in an integrated park in the south of Iraq, close to the ports, so you can access global markets. Infrastructure, roads, utilities, rail, port facilities. We've touched on these. Again, I won't go into a lot of detail, but the one area that I will mention is on the utilities. A reliable source of utilities, electricity, cooling water, potable water, nitrogen, etc., is critical. Now, an investor can come in and do a lot of this themselves. But I do believe that the more the government strategy can be developed such that third parties come in and develop power sector of the government, or develop the cooling water system, or a nitrogen supply, I think it's a more efficient use of capital and lowers the capital burden on the petrochemical supplier. However, they would have to be convinced. With the analogy that I use, the utilities are the blood and the oxygen to the petrochemical plant. And if you have a pacemaker in your heart, you're not going to entrust a third party to make sure the battery's always charged. You're going to make sure you do that yourself. And I think that's how most operating people would look at it. Facility integration, Dr. Chalabi already touched on this. A lot of advantages, and it's not just the single JV integrating the facilities. It's multiple companies building at the same site that can share in certain infrastructure or trade streams across the fence to get higher value, et cetera, and business-friendly government policies and I believe a transparent, and I think this is missing in Iraq today, a transparent feedstock pricing policy to incentivize investment. And I think it should be a policy that's available to any investor that's willing to come in and invest in petrochemicals, transparent, long enough term, so that they can at least cover the debt service if they were to get funding. But I think that's critical. And then streamlined regulatory and legal framework, we've talked about that. There are certain tax incentives that are already available in Iraq. But that's the list, and this is what I call a quotable quote. Actually, it's from an ex-boss of mine, and now he's the CEO of Phillips 66. He was the president of Chevron Phillips Chemical Company. But at a SARA conference last year, 2017, in Houston, he said, today, if we look at the opportunities out there, and he's talking about Phillips 66, he said, if we look at the opportunities out there, we would tell you we see better value creation in the midstream and petrochemical business. The Middle East and the U.S. Gulf Coast are going to be the two best places in the world to make petrochemicals long term. And if you think about petrochemicals, something between 80 to 90% of your cost structure is around energy and feedstock. And it's like my colleague from BP said earlier today, from their crude perspective, they look for advantaged crude. A petrochemical perspective, they're going to look for advantaged feed. That is the single biggest attraction. And I said there would be other things on the list, but that's a big one. And then he went on to say, if you get that part of the equation right, you can compete with anybody. You compete with anybody, any place in the world. And I believe in that. I participated and ran projects built by my company that he ran, and that's exactly what they do. They send products all over the world, and they're very profitable. Before I close, though, I think Iraq has got a perfect example of development with a neighbor very nearby, and that's the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And if you look at the development of the Saudi petrochemical industry, they started at the midstream. Okay, they started capturing the gas. In fact, about 8 years ago, when I first landed in Basra, I sent a text back to Houston. I said, I think I know what the eastern province of Saudi Arabia looked like in the mid-1970s. Because what I saw in Basra were flares everywhere. The Saudis had a strategy. They had a plan. The first plants were based on ethane, as you can see on that chart. The first plants were basically ethane-based, and it was for ethylene and methanol. Later, as infrastructure developed and secondary industries developed, the kingdom diversified its feed supply to include propane, butane, and naphtha. And in fact, today there's liquid crackers that are being planned for Saudi Arabia. And in terms of pricing, they started out, this would have been in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, at 50 cents a million BTU fixed. And then they moved that up, I believe that was around year 2000. They moved it up to 75 cents an MMBTU, and currently, starting 2016, they increased the price to $1.25. But that was a key factor, the price of ethane and a reliable supply of ethane, and developed infrastructure that attracted the billions and billions into Jubail. And as you can see here in this chart, Jubail now covers, I can't read the number, but I think it's 1,000 square kilometers. I worked there myself for 8.5 years. It's an impressive industrial site, and it's the result of I think, a 30-year plan. Very well calculated, very well executed, very disciplined, and allowing a level playing field to any investor that had the right technology. Like Dr. Chalabi said, you can do a lot of stuff, you don't have the right technology, the stool's going to break. So they made sure they hit on all the pillars, and today they've got a lot to show for it. But I do believe, and I tend to be somewhat of an optimist, I do believe that by establishing an integrated midstream sector, which I consider a conditioned precedent for the development of the petrochemical industry, the integrated midstream sector will eliminate flaring and unlock the Iraqi hydrocarbon value chain, and Iraq can become a competitive, a globally competitive petrochemical industrial center, and I do believe it can rival an industrial city like Jubail, Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much for your attention. Did I make 10 minutes?
That was a terrific panel. Thank you. I think we heard earlier today a common theme was talking about diversifying Iraq's economy away from oil, and our panelists, I think, did a great job of talking about how the midstream and downstream elements of the oil sector can help Iraq get more out of its oil in terms of revenue and jobs, and also, as Elijah was saying at the end, is possibly even a gateway toward diversification in the economy. So I think a great way to conclude the day. Unfortunately, the organizers have signaled to me that we don't have time for questions, and so we'll have to end the session here. Apologies, I would love to interrogate all of you, but we'll have to end it here, and I'll end by thanking our speakers and reminding everyone that we begin again at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning in this hall. So please join me in thanking our speakers. Simultaneous integration.